The Quantum Paradox Protocol. The quantum device Captain Emma Marlowe faced a daunting mission. She peered out the window of the spacecraft, taking in the vast emptiness of space. Her ship, the Archangel, was headed for a distant planet known as Xandar. Emma and her team of intrepid explorers were on a mission to retrieve a powerful quantum device, capable of manipulating matter at the subatomic level. The device was designed by a brilliant but reclusive inventor named Dr. Nathaniel Wallace. It was said to be capable of transforming the very fabric of reality, unlocking untold technological marvels and opening the door to unlimited power. Emma understood the risks of obtaining such a powerful device. But she also knew that it was too valuable to be left in the wrong hands. As the Archangel entered orbit around Xandar, Emma initiated the landing sequence. The planet was barren and lifeless, with a thin atmosphere that offered little protection against the intense radiation that bombarded its surface. The team donned protective suits as they descended to the planet's surface in a small shuttlecraft. Emma felt her heart race as she and her companions stepped onto the rocky terrain of Xandar. A chill ran down her spine as she surveyed the bleak landscape. She knew that anything could happen, and she was prepared for the worst. The team began navigating through the harsh terrain, the barren environment providing a stark contrast to the lush forests and valleys of Earth. They had to cross rocky crags and ravines, each step taken with caution to avoid slipping or falling. They stopped at the edge of a chasm. Beyond it, a rocky outcropping jutted out of the ground, indicating the entrance to Dr. Wallace's laboratory. Emma led the team across the gap with the help of a sturdy rope, each step toward the facility making her pulse race even faster. Once they were inside, the team began to explore the labyrinthine corridors, searching for the quantum device. Emma knew that the device would be heavily guarded, and that Dr. Wallace would have taken every precaution to keep it out of unwanted hands. She was prepared for traps, ambushes, and other defenses. After several harrowing hours, the team finally found the device, housed in a heavily reinforced chamber. The thought of the unimaginable power contained within made Emma's pulse race even faster. She carefully removed the device from its housing, and the team set out to leave the facility. But before they could make it back to their shuttlecraft, they were ambushed by a group of heavily armed mercenaries. Emma had suspected that someone would try to take the device from her, but she never anticipated such a large attack force. A fierce battle ensued, with the odds stacked against Emma and her team. But they fought with all their might, determined to keep the quantum device out of the wrong hands. Just when they thought all was lost, a stunning plot twist occurred that left them reeling in shock. Emma had to think fast if she was going to get out of Xandar alive, let alone the quantum device. Would she be able to outsmart the mercenaries and escape? Only time would tell. But Emma was determined to persevere, no matter the cost. Chapter 2. The Enemy Within. As the Archangel left orbit around Xandar, Emma couldn't help but feel that something wasn't right. She knew that Dr. Nathaniel Wallace was a genius, but she also knew that he wasn't above playing games. What if the device was a trap? What if it was designed to infiltrate the minds of those who held it and control them from the inside? Emma pushed these thoughts away, knowing that she needed to focus on the task at hand. But as the days passed, she began to notice subtle changes in her behavior. She felt more irritable than usual, and her thoughts were clouded with a sense of unease. As she tried to work out what was wrong with her, Emma noticed that her team members were acting strangely too. They all seemed to be on edge, and there was an air of tension on the ship. It was almost as if they were all hiding something, even from each other. Emma decided to confront her team about their behavior. But before she could, the ship's alarms began blaring. The Archangel was under attack. Emma sprang into action, leading her team to the ship's weapon systems. As they fired back at their attackers, Emma realized that their enemies were unlike any they had ever faced before. They moved with a strange agility, and their attacks were filled with a viciousness that was almost inhuman. But the biggest shock came when Emma and her team discovered the enemy's identity. They were humans, just like them. Emma was stunned. How could this be possible? As they fought, Emma began to piece together the clues. The quantum device had somehow infiltrated their minds, causing them to turn on each other. Emma realized that they were dealing with something much more dangerous than they had ever anticipated. With this realization, Emma's mind raced to find a solution. She knew that they needed to get the quantum device off the ship and out of their minds, or they would be doomed to fight each other forever. As they continued to battle, Emma and her team worked frantically to find a way to neutralize the device's effects. Finally, they discovered a way to disable the device and rid themselves of its insidious influence once and for all. As they emerged from the battle victorious, Emma couldn't help but feel a sense of relief. But she also knew that this was just the beginning. They had uncovered a sinister plot that threatened their very existence, and Emma was determined to get to the bottom of it. She knew that the road ahead would be long and difficult, but she was ready to face it head-on. Chapter 3. The black hole. Emma and her team were still reeling from the revelation that the quantum device had the power to control their minds. As they searched for answers, they received a distress call from a nearby planet that was being torn apart by a massive black hole. Without hesitation, Emma and her crew set course for the planet. When they arrived, they found a once vibrant world reduced to a desolate wasteland. The black hole had torn apart everything in its path, leaving nothing but destruction in its wake. Emma knew that the situation was dire. There were still survivors on the planet, and they needed her help. She quickly coordinated with her team to formulate a plan to rescue as many people as they could. They began by sending down reconnaissance drones to search for any signs of life. As the drones scoured the planet, Emma and her team prepared their shuttlecraft for an evacuation mission. As they descended into the planet's atmosphere, the team was met with a sight that left them awestruck. The planet was being ripped apart in front of their eyes. Buildings were crumbling, and entire cities were being swallowed whole by the black hole. The team knew they were running out of time. They sat down near a group of survivors and began to evacuate them, one by one. The team worked with incredible speed, knowing that every second counted. But just as they were about to leave, Emma noticed that one of the survivors was missing. It was a young girl, and Emma knew that they couldn't leave her behind. As the team searched for the missing girl, the black hole's force began to intensify. The ground was shaking, and the sound of collapsing buildings filled the air. Emma knew that they had to find the girl soon, or they would all be swallowed by the black hole. After what seemed like an eternity, they finally found the girl. She was trapped under a pile of rubble, but they managed to free her just in time. As they raced back to their shuttlecraft, Emma could feel the black hole's gravity pulling at her with an unrelenting force. But just as they were about to take off, something strange happened. A bolt of energy shot out of the black hole and struck their shuttlecraft, causing it to spin out of control. Emma struggled to regain control, her heart pounding with fear. But just when it seemed that all was lost, a stunning plot twist occurred. Emma realized that the quantum device was somehow responsible for the energy bolt that hit their shuttlecraft. It was almost as if the device was attempting to take control of them again. Emma knew that they needed to get the device off the ship and out of their lives for good. But with the black hole's strength intensifying, it seemed that their fate was sealed. Would Emma and her team be able to escape the black hole's clutches, or would they be swallowed up whole? The answer lay in their ability to work together, and Emma was ready to fight until the bitter end. Chapter 4. The Betrayal. After narrowly escaping the black hole's grasp, Emma and her crew were on high alert. They knew that the quantum device was still a threat, and they were determined to find a way to neutralize its power. As they flew through space, Emma suddenly received a message from an old acquaintance, Commander Jameson, a former member of her team who had gone rogue years ago. Jameson claimed that he had information about the quantum device that could help them. Wary but curious, Emma agreed to meet with Jameson. As she and her team approached his location, they noticed that something was off. There were no signs of life, and the area was surrounded by a heavy security force. Suddenly, Jameson's voice crackled over the intercom. He warned Emma that she was walking into a trap, and that he had no intention of helping her. Emma and her team had been set up. As they battled Jameson's security force, Emma realized that they had been betrayed. She knew that Jameson was obsessed with the quantum device, and that he would stop at nothing to get his hands on it. As the battle raged on, Emma and her team became cornered. It seemed that there was no escape. But just when all hope seemed lost, a stunning plot twist occurred. One of Jameson's guards suddenly turned on his comrades, revealing himself to be a double agent working for Emma. With his help, Emma and her team managed to turn the tide of the battle and escape Jameson's grasp. As they fled, Emma couldn't help but think about the betrayal they had just faced. She knew that there were more people out there who would stop at nothing to get the quantum device. She knew that they had to be ready for anything. But as they regrouped and discussed their next move, Emma realized that there was still one person she could trust: Dr. Nathaniel Wallace, the inventor of the quantum device. She knew that he had the knowledge they needed to neutralize the device's power and end the threat once and for all. Emma and her team set out to find Dr. Wallace, but they knew that they were running out of time. They had to neutralize the device before it fell into the wrong hands. Emma was determined to succeed, even if it meant facing more betrayal and danger along the way. Chapter 5. The confrontation. Emma and her team were closing in on Dr. Nathaniel Wallace's location. They knew that he held the key to neutralizing the quantum device's power, and they were determined to find him no matter what. As they approached the facility where Dr. Wallace was believed to be hiding, Emma couldn't help but feel a sense of foreboding. She knew that they were walking into a dangerous situation, but she also knew that they had come too far to turn back now. As they entered the facility, they encountered a heavy security force. Emma and her team fought their way through, determined to reach Dr. Wallace before it was too late. But just when they thought they had the upper hand, a stunning plot twist occurred. It turned out that Dr. Wallace had been expecting them. He was ready for their arrival, and he had no intention of giving up the quantum device's power. Emma and her team confronted Dr. Wallace and demanded that he hand over the device. But instead of complying, he launched a shocking attack on the team, using the device's power to try and control their minds. As Emma and her team struggled against the device's influence, they knew that they had to fight back. They had come too far to fail now. With sheer determination, Emma and her team turned the tables on Dr. Wallace. They managed to neutralize the device's power, breaking free from its grip once and for all. As they took control of the situation, Emma couldn't help but feel a sense of triumph. They had succeeded where so many had failed. They had saved the galaxy from a terrible threat. But as she looked back on their journey, Emma knew that the real victory lay in their unwavering determination. They had faced incredible danger and betrayal, but they had never given up. They had fought for what was right, and they had succeeded. As the team made their way back to their ship, Emma felt a sense of pride in the knowledge that they had saved countless lives. She knew that there would always be those who would try to exploit the power of the universe for their own gain, but she also knew that there would always be those who would rise up to defend it. Emma and her team had proven themselves to be true defenders of the galaxy. They had faced their fears and emerged victorious. And as they flew off into the stars, they knew that they would always be ready for whatever the universe had in store for them next. Chapter 6. The Sacrifice. As Emma and her team made their way back to their ship, they knew that their mission wasn't over yet. They still had one last challenge to face: how to dispose of the quantum device and prevent it from falling into the wrong hands. They knew that the device was simply too powerful to destroy, and they couldn't risk letting it fall into the hands of those who would use it for evil. Emma knew that the only way to ensure the device's safety was to sacrifice something of equal value. Emma and her team raced back to Earth, where they hoped to find a solution to their problem. They knew that if they failed, the consequences could be catastrophic. As they reached Earth, they realized that they had run out of time. The device's power was becoming unstable, and they knew that they had to act fast. But just when all hope seemed lost, a stunning plot twist occurred. One of Emma's team members, a young scientist named Sarah, stepped forward with a daring plan. Sarah believed that she could harness the power of the device and use it to warp the space-time continuum, creating a black hole that would safely dispose of the device once and for all. It was a risky plan, but Emma knew that they had no other choice. Without hesitation, Emma and her team agreed to the plan. They knew that it was a sacrifice that they had to make in order to protect the galaxy from the device's power. As Sarah worked on the device, Emma and her team prepared for the warp. They knew that the stakes were high, but they were determined to see it through to the end. As the warp began, the team could feel the immense power of the device. It was a force unlike anything they had ever experienced, and they knew that their lives were in danger. But as they traveled through the cosmic expanse, something strange happened. Emma realized that they had fallen into a trap. They were being hunted by an unknown foe, and they were completely defenseless. Emma and her team struggled to stay alive as their attacker closed in. But just when it seemed that all was lost, Sarah made the ultimate sacrifice. She used the device's power to create a singularity, destroying their attacker and safely disposing of the quantum device. As Emma and her team emerged from the chaos, they knew that they had lost one of their own. But they also knew that Sarah's sacrifice had saved countless lives. They had succeeded in their mission, and they had shown that even in the face of danger and sacrifice, they were willing to stand up for what was right and protect the galaxy from harm. As they made their way back to their ship, Emma couldn't help but feel a sense of melancholy. They had accomplished their mission, but it had come at a terrible cost. They had learned that true triumph often came at a great price, and that sometimes the greatest victory of all was found in the bravery and sacrifice of those who stood up for what was right. Chapter 7. The Aftermath. As Emma and her team returned to their ship, they were exhausted from their mission. The events of the last few weeks had taken their toll on them, and they were ready to return home and rest. But as they settled into the ship and prepared for the long journey back to Earth, Emma couldn't help but think about the aftermath of their mission. She knew that they had succeeded in their goal of neutralizing the quantum device, but she also knew that the threats and dangers of the universe would always be present. As Emma reflected on their journey, she realized that they had grown closer as a team. They had faced incredible danger and sacrifice, but they had always stood by each other's sides. They had become more than just a team of scientists and explorers. They had become a family. As they made their way back to Earth, Emma and her team discussed their next steps. They knew that there would always be threats to the safety of the galaxy, and they were prepared to face them head-on. But as they landed back on Earth and prepared to return to their normal lives, Emma knew that things would never be the same. The experiences they had gone through had changed them, and they had seen the true power of the universe. As Emma and her team parted ways and returned to their normal lives, she knew that they would always be connected by the bond they had forged in their mission. They had become true defenders of the galaxy, and they had shown that even in the face of incredible danger and sacrifice, they were willing to fight for what was right. Emma smiled as she looked up at the stars, knowing that they would always be out there, waiting for the next great adventure. She couldn't wait to see what the future held, knowing that she had a team of true heroes by her side. As she set off into the night, Emma reflected on the journey that had led her to where she was now. She knew that the challenges she had faced had made her stronger, and that she was ready to face whatever the universe had in store for her next. For now, she was content in knowing that the galaxy was in safe hands, and that she had made a difference. For Emma and her team, the adventure was only just beginning.